Hi, I'm Danielle, and this is your 7 a.m. gentle class on Thursday morning. So, welcome. Thanks for doing yoga with me. We are going to start in a child's pose today. So, on your mat, bring your knees wide, your big toes come to touch. Send your hips back to your heels and slide your hands forward on the mat. If it feels good to do so, you can rest your forehead on the mat, or you can rest it on a block or a blanket or a pillow, anything that you've got handy to use. And once you settle into your child's pose, bring your focus and your awareness to your breath. You don't have to force your breath to change, but as you take notice, you might find that your inhales and exhales become longer or more full. And then start to notice any areas in your body, areas of tension or pain. And imagine sending your breath into those spaces. And take a moment to just to thank yourself for taking the time to come onto your yoga mat today, to get online, to choose to do a yoga class, to take time out of your day for it. It's not always easy. And we're going to start to bring some movement from our child's pose. If your head is resting on a block or blanket, go ahead and move whatever props you might be using. And we're going to walk our hands over to the right side. And it doesn't have to be very far, but we're just starting with an easy, gentle side stretch. And start to walk your hands back through center and over to the left side this time. Walk your hands back to center one more time. And slowly bring your hands back under your shoulders. We're going to move into a tabletop position. So bring your knees under your hips. Your shoulders are stacked over your wrists. And just hinge back and forth a little bit. Maybe snake side to side. And cross your heels and sit back, or swing your legs around in front of you so that you can come into seated position. And I like to have something under my hips, like a blanket or a block, but you can find whatever seated position feels best for you. And we're going to start reminding the body of all the different ways that it can move. And we'll take a nice neck stretch so you can extend your fingertips out towards either side, down towards the mat. Drop your shoulders down away from the ears. And then reach your right ear towards your right shoulder. And as your ear is chasing your shoulder is continuing to drop down away from the ear. Let the head come back up to center and over to the other side. Reach down through those fingertips actively. And let your head float back up to center. Take a few shoulder rolls backward and forward. Shrug your shoulders up to your ears, nice and tight, and release. Shrug them up again, and let go. And then we'll start to take some torso circles. So moving from your hips, leading with your heart. You can start whichever direction you want. And you can make these circles as small as you want or as big and dramatic as you want. And then don't forget to switch directions. And once you feel even and you come back to center, we'll take a little gentle twist. So bring your right hand behind you, just right behind your spine. And your left hand comes to your right knee. Sit up nice and tall and start to bring your gaze over your right shoulder. Unwind from your twist back through center. This time your left hand comes behind your spine, right hand comes to your left knee. Sit up nice and tall and start the twist with your gaze. Let your breath guide your twist so that you're not forcing or wrenching your spine. And come back to center. And we'll do some cat-cow movements from our seated position. So bring your arms in a T out to each side and flex your hands so that your fingertips are pointing backwards or towards the back wall. And as you inhale and you arch your back, lift your heart, lift your gaze, bring your shoulder blades back and together. Exhale, round your spine, release your head and neck, and bring your hands together. Interlace your fingers and flip them outwards. Inhale up to the ceiling. And exhale, release your hands back out to the T, fingers flexed. And we'll do it again. Inhale, lift your heart and your gaze. Exhale, round your spine. Interlace the fingers. Inhale up. And exhale, release back out to the T. And start to move with your own breath. So you might move a little faster or slower than I do through your cow. Exhaling to cat. Inhale up. Exhale, release. And we'll do two more. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale up to the ceiling. Exhale, release. Last one. Inhale, cow. Really draw those shoulders down and back. Exhale, cat. Inhale up. And this time, exhale, let your arms come all the way down by your sides. Maybe shake them out a little bit. And then we'll go ahead and we'll move into a tabletop position once again. If this feels okay on your knees, you can rock forward, or you can swing your legs out to your sides and roll over onto your knees to come into tabletop. And then take those organic movements once again. See where your spine is at. See how your arms and your hips are feeling. And we're going to give our hands some love, because I feel like even in yoga, they get neglected a little bit. So we're going to start right here in tabletop, hinging back and forth. And as you hinge forward and your shoulders come over your wrists, see if you can spread your fingers wide, press the bottom of each knuckle into the mat. And if you start to feel a flexion in your wrists, then you can stay here. If you're not feeling anything, you can point those fingertips outwards. And you can start to hinge side to side. And usually for most people that spend any amount on a computer or a phone, this is going to create some sensation. If you're still not getting anything, you can point those fingertips back towards your body. This is pretty extreme for me, but that is an option. You just want to stretch out the wrists. Maybe you feel some sensation coming up into the forearms. Maybe you feel it in your fingers as they're pressing into the mat. And then we'll counter this pose by flipping our hands so that the back of the hand is on the mat, fingertips pointed towards yourself. And then gently lean back and forth until you find that sweet spot. This should feel good, not painful. So you do want to be very careful with your wrists. And you really don't want to put any weight into them. You're just using the floor as a guide. And then release your wrists, shake them out. Take whatever movement feels good. Hopefully you've got a little bit more blood flow to your hands, your wrists. That way you can feel stable when you're in poses like down dog and you're pressing into your hands. If you're a knuckle cracker, maybe you need to stop and crack your knuckles. And then we'll come back to our tabletop. From your tabletop position, we're going to move into a little bit of a balance. Shift your weight into your left palm, fingers spread wide, pressed into the mat. And if this does get to be a bit much with your weight in your hand, you can always use a block. You can set your hand on a block so it's not such an extreme 90-degree angle. You can also do what I do and make a fist and support your weight on that fist instead. So you do have some options here. And once you shift your weight into your left hand, start to lift your right hand and extend it straight out in front of you. And you want to see if you can keep your shoulders level so you're not twisting or opening to the side. Just neutral spine, hands straight out. And then release that hand down to the mat. This time your left foot is going to slide out along the mat. Once your leg is straight, you can lift your toes off the mat. And again, see if you can keep your hips level so you're not tilting your hips to get that leg in the air. You're keeping them both even with the mat. If you're feeling pretty good, pretty stable here, see if you can keep that back leg lifted as you extend your front right arm again. And you can bring your focus up, out in front of you. You can bring your focus down to a spot on the mat or the floor. And then release both your hand and your foot back to tabletop. And we'll try the other side. So shift your weight into your right palm or fist. Extend your left arm out in front of you. And you can set it down. Slide your right leg back. When you're ready, lift your toes. If you're feeling good about this, go ahead and lift your arm again. And you might need to engage your core a little bit to keep this balance. Suck your belly button into your spine. And then release both hand and leg back down to the mat. And then come all the way into a child's pose. Take a minute to reset your breath. And come back into tabletop. We'll move into thread the needle. For thread the needle, shift your weight into your left palm again. Lift your right arm up to the ceiling. As you exhale, slide it underneath that other armpit. And you can bring the shoulder all the way down to the mat, or you can stay lifted. You can put something underneath that shoulder, like a block or a blanket. If you want to, you can bring your cheek all the way to the mat. And then slide your left arm forward. Start to bring your left hand back under your shoulder. Press weight into it so that you can push yourself up. Right arm comes back up to the ceiling, so you're taking a little twist. And release back down. We'll set up for the other side. So shift your weight into your right palm. Inhale your left arm up. Exhale, slide it through under that armpit. Shoulder to the mat, cheek to the mat. Option to slide that right hand forward. Begin to bring your right hand back under your shoulder. Press yourself up. Inhale your left arm up to the ceiling. And exhale, release. And from tabletop, we're going to step our right foot between our hands. If it doesn't quite reach, you can toe heel it forward so that you're stacking your knee right over your ankle. And you can keep your back toes tucked, or you can release the top of the foot to the mat, whichever feels better for you. Sometimes it's a little more stable to have your toes tucked. And when you feel stable, make sure that your hips are both pointing forward. It's really easy for that left hip to open up. So keep them both squared towards the top of your mat. And inhale your arms up overhead. We're going to take a little baby back bend. It doesn't have to be real big, but bring your arms out to cactus arms. And then come back up and open up towards your front leg. So your right arm comes back, your left arm comes forward. You're taking a twist towards that front leg. And drop your shoulders away from the ears here. Keep breathing. And then bring your arms up to center. Open up to the other side so that you are opening that hip just a little bit. Come back to center. And release both hands down to the inside of the front foot. Toe heel your foot up to the right corner of your mat. We're going to take a runner's lunge. And you can stay right here. You can come down to your forearms if you want. You can bring your foot out to the knife edge as long as that knee stays in line with the ankle to protect the joints. So find your runner's lunge. Start to bring your hands back under your shoulders. Press yourself back, toe heel that foot back to center. And if you want to straighten that front leg and get a little bit of a hamstring stretch, you can. Or hinge back and forth a little bit. And then when you're ready, bring that right foot back, shake it out, maybe make some hip circles before you set that knee back down. This time, lunge your left foot between your hands, scooch it in there. Come up slowly, check out your hips, make sure they're squared to the front of the mat. When you feel stable, bring your arms up overhead. Exhale, take a little mini back bend. Inhale, arms back up. And this time we're twisting towards our left leg because our left leg is in front. So your left arm comes behind you, right arm comes in front. Taking that little twist. Bring the arms up and counter pose. Open up to the other side, opening up your hip a little. Only as far as feels good on your right knee that's down on the ground. Be aware of that. And bring your arms back up, nice and tall. Before you bring them down on the inside of that front foot, toe heel the foot up, find your runner's lunge. And bring your hands under your shoulders. Start to press your weight back so you can toe heel that foot back to center. You've got the option to straighten that front leg, flex the foot, toes towards the ceiling. If you want to get a little hamstring stretch, you could even hinge back and forth, moving from the lunge back towards a straight leg. And then back to your lunge again. Bring that front foot back. And then walk your fingertips back towards your knees until you're ready to come up to standing on your knees. We're going to move into gate pose. So for gate pose, shift your weight into your left knee. Your right foot comes out to the side. And it's okay if your foot isn't completely flat on the mat, but you want it to be as stable as possible. And then once you feel nice and stable, reach your arms up overhead and then release over your straight leg, over to the right side. You can gently slide that right hand down your right leg, or you can keep it on your hip. Draw your left shoulder back so that you're opening up into the chest. You're not collapsing forward. And leave room in both your side bodies to breathe. Take one more breath here, and then come back up to center. Release the arms down. Bring that right leg in. Maybe shake things out a little bit before you set up for gate pose on the other side. Shift weight into your right knee, extend the left foot. Once you feel stable, lift up your arms to the ceiling. Big inhale, and then exhale, release over to the left side. And even in this side stretch, continue to drop your shoulders away from your ears. Take one more breath. And on your next inhale, bring both arms up. Release them down. Bring that left leg in. And if you want to take a little toe stretch here, since we're here, you can. Weather's getting warmer. I'm wearing more flip-flops. Not as much support in my feet, so this one feels really good to me. And you just tuck your toes and sit back on your heels. Some people absolutely love this pose and some people absolutely hate it, and that's okay. So if this is not your pose, please don't do it. And coming out of your toe stretch, you can come back up onto your knees, or you can simply slide over to the side and swing your legs out in front of you. We're going to come into half staff pose. So extend your left leg straight out in front of you. Right foot is going to rest on the inside of your left thigh. Now you can stay here. Sometimes just sitting up tall in this position is enough to create sensation in the back of the leg. If you'd like to fold forward, you can inhale your arms up overhead, lead with your heart, hinge from your hips. When you can't lean over any farther with a flat back, release your hands and then allow your head and neck to release. Your spine can curve if that's comfortable. Slowly walk your hands back towards your torso to come back up to sitting, and move very slowly since it took you a long time to get into this pose. Extend both legs out in front of you and jiggle them out a little bit. Maybe you want to windshield wiper your feet a little. And then use your hands to draw that left foot in to the inside of your right thigh. Again, you always have the option to stay here, flexing that right foot, keeping it active, or you can fold forward by inhaling your arms up overhead leading with your heart and then collapsing over that front leg. Slowly start to come back up to sitting. Extend both legs once again. Shake them out. Maybe make little circles with your ankles if that feels good. And then we're going to make our way onto our backs. You can do that however you want to. I like to take hold of my thighs and round down. And bring one knee into your chest, followed by the other, so that you can give both of your knees a big hug. You can rock side to side a little bit if that feels good. You can make imaginary circles on the ceiling with your knees. And then we'll take a supine twist. So keeping your knees together, tee out your arms to either side and drop your knees over to the right side. You can choose to keep your gaze the same direction as your knees, or you can choose to shift your gaze in the opposite direction over your left shoulder. Using your hands, you can bring your knees back to center and guide them over to the left side this time. And bring your knees back up to center one more time. Give your knees a big hug. And then we'll move into happy baby. This will be our last pose. So you can use your peace fingers to grasp your big toes, or you can take hold of the outside of your feet and press your feet into your hands at the same time. You're drawing your knees in towards your armpits. And you can rock side to side here. You might choose to straighten one leg and then the other. And bring your knees in one last time before you set up for your final Shavasana. And you can keep your knees bent with your feet flat on the mat if that feels good on your low back. Or you can choose to slide your legs down the mat one at a time. Let your feet fall open. You can rest your hands down by your sides or on your belly. And once you find your final resting pose, start to let go of any leftover tension that you still have. With every breath in and every breath out, let go of what you don't need to carry with you anymore. And I encourage you to stay in Shavasana as long as you can. If you have the time, if you have the space, there's about 5 minutes left of this hour-long block. But of course, you're welcome to stay in Shavasana much longer than that if you can. So I'll sign off here, and I want to thank you for coming onto your yoga mat today, for choosing to take the time to practice, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you. Namaste.